Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, Caught Wife Cheating on Camera, What Should I Do About Her Kids? Really long sorry. Had to get it out. I, am 52, lost first wife 10 years ago. At the time 2 daughters now 21 and 24. Life went on after about 3 years. I met current wife, 38. Met innocently enough. Basically, kept bumping into her at various places around town. Never really talked. Sometimes made eye contact. We would point at each other at a distance and just smile. Then one day getting my car worked on, she walked into the waiting room, while hers was worked on also. So, we finally had a long conversation. We went across the street to get real coffee, as service centers was bad. We talked about an hour, then I was paged mine was done. I asked if she would like to do lunch one day to continue talking. We exchanged numbers and a day to meet up. We dated 2 years, then married. She has 2 boys now 10 and 14. They moved into my house, been living with her parents for 3 years. My girls loved her, not as a stepmom but as a big sister. Although having another adult in the house with 2 teenage girls was a blessing. Life is grand. I love those boys as if we're my own. I want to adopt them when they can make a decision on their own. The little one calls me dad. The oldest it was awkward. I told him to call me what he felt comfortable, my first name. The girls called her by her name. Wife is Sam. We decided until kids were adjusted. Now she doesn't want to work but does volunteer at school lunch and other things. Daughter 1 goes off to college, is now graduated. The younger daughter grad this past morning. We are moving the rest of her things this weekend. I was told her ex abandoned them about the time baby number 2 came along and has been no contact since. Her mom is very nice but holds me at arm's length. He is an alpha dog. I don't think he wanted anyone else taking care of his daughter only child, and grandkids. He would berate me because I was too old, not much younger than them. This would be any time I was around them. I am non-confrontational, so I told wife I would just stay away from them. I did encourage her to continue relationship, as they only live a couple blocks away. February this year her ex reappears, wants to be in their lives. He is sketchy at best. I cannot refuse this. He starts coming around often. I set a boundary that he comes on weekends so as not to interfere with school, and we can control his visitation somewhat. He comes most weekends, but really spends little time alone with the kids as we try to give him space. I ask wife if he made any child support payments while he was gone. No. I suggested to her to talk to him about getting caught up of whatever he owes and to ask about signing over rights so I could adopt. She said she would talk to him. First part of March our sex life starts to dive. You know where this going, right? But I am oblivious. I mention to wife, she has the usual excuses. I notice little things around the house are different. My favorite snacks are gone, missing a few beers, not a big drinker just one every now and then. But the big one was I could smell what I thought was weed. I asked wife if she was smoking, as we don't, she hasn't. I thought the now 14-year-old was, suggested we talk with him. She says she would handle it. About 2 weeks ago 14-year-old asks me if I love mom. I said yes, thinking he has a girlfriend. Time for a talk, right? He says that we always sat together and were touching each other some way or other. This made him feel good. He asks if mom loved his dad. I responded that sure on some level she does, why asking? He replies that they are always looking at each other, talking and touching. And he is over all the time. I asked what he meant by all the time. Almost every day when they get home from school he is there then leaves. That weekend I am in the living room, he is over for visitation. He comes in and sits down across from me with a beer. I look up from my reading and tell him to help himself to a beer. He says nothing. I ask why he with the kids isn't. I could hear laughing coming from the family room. He said he might go in a little bit. I tell him I will not drink in front of the kids. I wait until after they are in bed. He says nothing. He then states, "You know I am only here for her." What does that mean? You're talking about my wife. He says technically not divorced, he never signed papers, so she is his wife. I know a judge signed off on divorce because he could not be found, that's why it took longer to divorce. I finally ask about the child support, since I never heard back. He just looked at me and said that he was caught up, paid her $15,000 in cash. I asked them if she talked to him about giving up rights, never asked. He asked what it would be worth to me. I said, "You got to be kidding, you would sell your kids." Before he could answer, I told him to leave. The next day, this past Sunday, the kids were at grandma and grandpa with wife. I bought and installed a camera. I put it on top of the TV. Very small. It has a view of the front door and living room. Motion activated. Nothing unusual until Wednesday about 10 a.m. I get alert on phone when the camera activates. So, I am at work, I get a notice. Figure it's the wife cleaning up. I look anyways. He comes back. They began to kiss more. He starts grabbing at her, she playfully pushes away. They are laughing, no sound. He sits on the couch, she brings him a beer and snacks. 10 a.m. She disappears. She is back a few minutes later, clothes changed, she is going to school for lunch. They are talking. More grabbing, more pushing away, laughing. A few minutes later, she is up getting ready to leave. He gets up, grabs her again. Making some gestures, then poses like he is praying, hands together. They sit down again, she gives him head. She finishes up, goes out of range. Comes back, says something, then leave. He then watches TV, he takes a nap. Screen eventually goes blank. A little after 1 p.m. another alert, she is home. They talk, they both leave room. I know they are headed to bedroom. I race home and find them. They never heard me coming. There is the hysterics you would expect. He slithers out. I tell her she has to go. She pleads it was a one-time mistake, he had just got there. She was lonely because we weren't having sex, etc. I called Bees. I asked how often he came over, just the weekends. This was an anomaly. I showed the video of him napping. She said he was tired and asked. Then I showed her the BJ. She had nothing to say. I told her to pack her bags, she is out. I left and called her dad to take them in, we were having issues. He of course takes alpha position, telling me how I would screw this up, yada yada. I couldn't get a word in. Finally, I stopped him, asked again, he said yes, then started on me again. I had enough. I said I would send him something. I sent the video edited down to BJ. I told him to view and call me back if I was wrong. Never heard back. Talked to lawyer Thursday. He helped with estate plan after first wife. Referred me to a partner who does family law, will meet Tuesday, divorce will happen. He felt but did not know for sure that I would be on the hook for support for kids. No alimony since she broke our prenup. I made it up before marriage in addition to estate plan to protect my girls. I don't care about the support, glad to do it. It's the boys. So, my question or advice needed, has anyone else been through divorce and was able to see their ex's kids even if they are no yours? How did that go? The 14-year-old is partially vulnerable as he will be in HS next year, formative years. I don't want to see him go down the tube and turn out like dad. Thanks to all in advance. A user in the comments said, given the age of the kids, it's likely that they can participate somehow in the divorce and custody conversation and give their own preferences. Some mediations give the kids their own time alone with the decision maker to say their piece. Sounds like the kids are bonded to, so don't lose hope that you'll still be a big part of their lives. Another user said, I'm so sorry this has happened to you. I think you should still be able to talk to the kids that you've clearly bonded with. I was about 15 when my mom divorced my stepdad. He was in my life for about 10, and the father of my half-sister, so we were really close. My mom said I was permitted to visit with him since he was my life so long, so he took me to dinner and the movies once a month. We still do this and I'm well into adulthood. I'd suggest in the family law bring up making some sort of agreement with the wife, that you view them as yours and would like to remain a mentor. The next one is titled, Update, Caught Wife Cheating on Camera, What Should I Do About Her Kids? I will try to keep it short. I have written this now 3 times, because of length I keep cutting it back. Met with my lawyer Tuesday. We discussed what I wanted to do. I told him how I wanted to be in the boy's life. If that means remaining married, then so be it. I still have love for the wife but no longer trust. He advised that in his experience it would be wrong to continue the marriage as it would be a charade of one. Overall a crappy marriage the boys would suffer. The prenup was violated that will hold. Wife is not entitled to any support. He suggests that we work together to come up with a visitation plan that works for both. Child support will be up to me, but again anything we work out will be looked on favorably by the court. He added that there have been cases where judges have ruled that a step-parent that has been in the child's life for a long time, where they have supported them, should pay child support. He didn't think the judges in our local courts have ruled that way, but they may at some time. Once she gets a lawyer everything will be tougher. Get it worked out before then. He tells me in their weekly partners meeting they go over new and upcoming cases. My original attorney only did elder law and estate planning. My new attorney does family law. The others do criminal and liability. A few hours after the meeting, criminal attorney, CA, comes into his office and told him the $15,000 in back child support just didn't sound right. The amount is pretty close to what the ex should gave paid. His thought: how does a middle-class person get his hands on that much cash? The CA made a call to a contact in the prosecutor's office in the county. It turns out the ex never abandoned wife and kids. He was in jail on drug charges. He was tied to a federal case. He was granted early release 3 years ago, when the feds were releasing non-violent prisoners to ease overcrowding. I don't know if they are interested in him now, but the CA seems to think he went back to his old profession. They really are divorced. We checked again. So, Thursday comes around for us to meet. Wife and Phil come over to the house. It was very uncomfortable. Up until the Tuesday meeting I was still on the fence on what to do. I started off with saying I was going to record the meeting so there would be no misinterpretation of what transpired. They both agreed. I asked if she had consulted an attorney. She had not. I advised her to get one because there will be a divorce. That statement took the air out of the room. Wife asks if we could speak alone for a couple minutes before we continue. I agreed. She asks Phil to give us space. She started to apologize. I cut her off. I did not want excuses. I told her that she violated my trust by not only cheating but lying to me. She asked how. I told her I know a lot more than she thinks. I knew she was just going to lie more. So, I asked about the $15,000, why she never told me. She thought for a second. She never had that much money at one time and just kept it to herself. She still had the cash. I asked if she questioned where it came from. Ex knew he owed it to her and the kids, and when he got enough that's why he showed up. So right away she is lying. I told her I knew the deep dark family secret. Ex was in jail. I asked where he has been for the last 3 years since release. Had she met up with him? She was shocked I knew, but the look on her face that he had out for 3 years told me she did not know. He contacted her end of January. We discussed the fact that ex wanted to sell me the boys for his vacating parental rights. She claims not to know this. I asked how long the sex has been going on. She said the one time. I called BS. I told her I had the camera set up for a while. I showed her a clip where she actually dusted the TV and never noticed the camera on top. It wasn't big, but it was very obvious. Note I only had the camera a few days, but what the hell, I just went with it. She thought it was part of video game system. She then admitted it started in March. 2 full months. So, she had told me another lie. At this point we called Phil back in. I was done with the lies. We then get into what I want, the boys. At this point we are recording. They both object, but eventually we come to the agreement the boys can come over whenever but stay with her. I would stay in the lives and provide what I feel is appropriate. I expected her to return to work, not to expect me to support her. I reminded her of the prenup and that she violated it. I said she cannot work the boys to ask for things, because they will be honest with me when I ask if they were put up to get something from me. I did say that I knew eventually she would have another man in her life, considering her age, and that I would not cause any issues once I felt he had the best interests of the boys. By then they could be beyond the confusion stage and could decide how they will react to another stepdad. One last thing, Redditor, wife and I both are avid followers of different subs. We spent many evenings side by side reading our favorites and sharing with each other. She has read my post, figured out by my descriptions that it was me. She saw your reactions. While I wish I could have used most of your replies, she read them all and commented how you savaged her. Thank you. The next one is titled, I ate a telling the truth in the wedding toast and pissing people off? I'm a 30-year-old male and my best friend got married last week. I just bought a house, and my wife is expecting our son in November, so I let him know I was limited in what I could contribute financially but did tell him I would try my best. So, I went to the bachelor party in Maine, I rented the tux, and paid for mine and my wife's dinner at the rehearsal dinner. I also had a gift of $300 that I was going to give them, but we will get to why I didn't give it to them. His, now wife, then fiancé, texted me multiple times a day with updates fine. I didn't always respond, and it got to the point where if I didn't respond at least once a day, I'd get a call from my buddy. I have a full-time job and am redoing some rooms in my house, so I'm busy. She texted me for the following reasons. My wife was not allowed to talk about our pregnancy, at all. She didn't want anyone to focus on that more than her, the bride. She was not going to order special food for my wife. No one asked her to. My wife was fine with whatever she was going to be served. I was not helping the groom enough. He had to help her with favors, seating charts and programs, so I had to help him with those things, according to her. She also said to get ready to help with thank you notes after the wedding. She said if I was a true best man, I would offer to pay for the bar bill. I don't even know what that means. She had to approve my speech before the rehearsal dinner and wanted to be included as much as my buddy. She told me to make up things if I had to. I was also not allowed to include anyone but the two of them and no inside jokes or stories about my buddy that didn't include her. Her last text said to tell my wife to keep it together and not make a pregnancy scene during the wedding. Also, she wanted her to choose a dress that downplayed her pregnancy as much as possible. I was just so aggravated. I spoke to my friend to see if he could reason with her. He told me to just play ball on this one. It's her day and to cut him a break, because he'd be dealing with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I was annoyed but calmed down. The day of all the bride and my buddy do is scold me, berate me and bark orders. I head down to the bar for a drink. The bride's mother is there and warns me not to get drunk because I've ruined her daughter's day enough. Final straw. I didn't give them the card with the cash and in the speech. I used my friend's exact wording about having to deal with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I wished them the best and told him I'd always be there for him, especially during the divorce. Iata? A user in the comments said, everyone sucks here, reasons. Groom knew he was marrying a piece of work and instead of protecting his interests he co-signed, aided, and abetted his wife's atrocious behavior. His wife sucks for trying to regulate your wife's body, for allowing her insecurities to cloud her judgment, and being the very definition of a bridezilla. You, for not taking the high road and waiting until the very last minute to defend your wife's honor. Look dude, you were totally justified, but you also had ample opportunity to jump off the crazy train before it got this far. Being a good friend means having the comfortability and latitude to say no when your friends are off the rails. You waited until the last minute and let your emotions get the better of you. Your wife deserved better from these people and from you in this moment. Also, get new friends. These people suck hardcore. Another user said, from the title alone, I was prepared to think you were the Through the bridezilla bits I was thinking yikes. They are the and by the time I got to the end I was a firm esh. I don't blame you for not giving the card. They treated you horribly and did not deserve the generous gift you were prepared to give. But I think being honest in the speech took it too far. You would have been better off just cutting it super short. Words can't even describe these two, so let's raise a glass. The end. I don't think your speech was too much because of how it impacted them, but because of their families. Maybe their families suck as much as them. They had to get their ridiculous entitlement somewhere. But I'd be horrified to witness a best man speech like you described if I were a guest at a wedding. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.